Hello, my name is Harold Mendelson, and today's blog presentation will be short. It's based on the life and times of John D. Rockefeller, and who's become the richest man in the world. I want to make this presentation short, so I'm going to leave out everything but the high points. After graduating school, finishing up with that, he went into became a bookkeeper. He grew up basically by Cleveland, Ohio, and he stayed in that position for 4 years. Then he decided to go out and have his own business of doing that. So he partnered up with another expert in wholesale uh, food production of foods that were perishable. So they went into that business and it prospered. They started that out in 1859, which was the same year that the first oil well that was successfully produced oil was constructed in Titusville, Pennsylvania, which is in northwestern Pennsylvania. They continued in this business until 1863. At that point, they decided that there were so many oil wells were being constructed, and eventually would be 20 oil refineries, which were located around the eastern and southern parts of Cleveland, Ohio area. And at that point, the oil was extracted uh, from basically northwestern Pennsylvania, northeastern Ohio, and the northern panhandle of West Virginia. Um, so they decided, and they did go into the oil refinery business, and they borrowed $4,000, um, got the oil processing in the refineries going, and the main product at that time was kerosene. Now, Rockefeller was smart enough to get a chemist who was an expert in that area and knew at the current technologies how to extract the most kerosene and the purest kerosene. So his products were in demand because of the fact that they had a better grade of kerosene. In fact, throughout his tenure at Standard Oil, which was the name of the company, um, gasoline never came into the picture. Everything was kerosene, and he also developed other byproducts, lubricants, um, cleaners, and hydraulic fluid and such. And along this line, he believed in vertical integration and decided that he wanted to get the whole process. So they also did it in other areas. Um, he had constructed the oil storage cars, um, which would hold the oil that was being transported by rail. He was already in the oil barrel business. He started to buy oil wells or construct them. And he also came up with the concept of using pipelines to go directly from the oil wells into the refineries, which reduced the cost dramatically of transporting the oil. Um, this continued on until 1872, um, when the state of Ohio changed their charters and now forced they took Standard Oil to court and forced them through the legal system to either divest themselves or of all of the oil wells that they had outside of the state of Ohio, or go out of business. Um, neither option was acceptable to Standard Oil, so they formed a trust, And what the trust did is it took control away from the individual states. And by this time, they had built up 38 separate charters in 38 states. So they converted it from the state-owned uh, operated charters into a federal trust company called Standard Oil Trust. Um, and they basically exchanged all of these company stocks that had existed prior to being in the trust and got equal equivalent of shares that were trust shares. This continued on for 10 years. This was 1882 um, and to 1892. At that point, the pressures were getting to Rockefeller. He was not only running one of the largest companies in the world, handling the day-to-day process and the strategic advantages, but also he knew that the governments were going to be coming after him eventually, both state and local and federal. And they were basically viewed in the media as being robber barons, which is something that really didn't apply to him. Um, he kept the price of kerosene down and all the other oil byproducts that they had been making. So he just knew that the shoe was going to drop. And so he had a nervous breakdown as a result. It took him a while to recover from that, but he did. But it affected his health negatively. And he tried to continue on, and he did until 1896. He was beginning to feel again that he was going to have another nervous breakdown, so he just quit coming to work. Stayed at home and tried to do his best to recover it. And most of his duties were divested out into other people to take care of. The following year, he formally resigned from the company and he became involved in philanthropic activities. And his main goal was to divest of all his money and give it away to what he felt were worthy causes. Um, he founded the Rockefeller Foundation, which was basically a giant grant giver. Um, it still exists today and is still very much in business of doing the same thing. For the next 40 years of his life, before he died in 1937, that was his main focus. Meantime, Standard Oil continued. They had Standard Oil of Ohio was the main company, and that was taken into federal courts finally in 1911, and found that they had been using monopolistic business practices, and they were forced to basically become 38 separate companies. And in that process, they reversed the shares of trust stock back to the original stock that they had traded for, of which the main owner of this stocks, or at least the largest single owner, was John D. Rockefeller. And so the stocks over these 30 years that they were in basically as treasury stocks uh, became very valuable. And so again, he had more money to give away. And that's basically what he did. Um, the company still exists today, Standard Oil. It's now known as Exxon, which is the largest oil company in the world. And beside that, the trust that he had created for his philanthropic activities still exists and is still very functional today. Well, that's it for me. Just thank you for listening and watching. I hope you have a good day.